Welcome back, everybody, to the show, sort of. This is not a normal episode of Understable Minds. This is kind of an introduction, interview type thing into the world of Westside Discs moving forward. The big news so far this offseason has been the fact that our guest today, Eric, Mr. Matt Orum, MattyO, is here. He's in the house. He is going to be playing for Westside Discs moving forward. I'm sure he's excited, but I guarantee you're not as excited as I am for this news, because this is huge news. This is, I mean, it didn't happen the way that we all wanted it to happen, but this is, I mean, is it fair to call this groundbreaking, would you say?
I would say so.
It's groundbreaking to me for sure, because I mean, this is a life change for me, like for sure. Like I can do stuff I've never been able to do stuff and be dedicated to disc golf for the first time. And I've been playing since I was a little kid. So I've been waiting for this day and been thinking about this day for a long time. And it's good to kind of finally see it become a reality.
Yeah.
I know on the Nick and Matt show, they actually said that MattyO to Westside is the biggest announcement or move of the year so far. And there's been a bunch of them. There's been a bunch of players that have made their announcements this year already. So I 100% agree with them. It is definitely the biggest.
There's no argument here.
Yeah.
I looked it up, and I think you're the 6th highest rated player in the world, 5th or 6th. And as far as I'm aware, none of the people rated higher than you have moved. None of the people that have finished above you have moved. So I think this would be the biggest change for sure. And you're kind of like I don't know if you're or how aware of this you are, but you have like this really interesting cult following where you're not the most active person on Instagram or Facebook or kind of social media, but like the disc golf world loves you because of who you are as a human. You don't have to be on Instagram every day, but kind of your personality and your attitude and all that stuff, it shines through. People know that about you. And so what is it? Does that motivate you at all, knowing that there's not a single sane person out there that's rooting against you? There's nobody that's like, that MattyO, he's kind of a jerk. I don't like that guy. Does that help you at all, or you're not fazed?
Well, it's all kind of hit me kind of new because ever since COVID and, just me going out on the road, and it kind of happened really quick too. Like I started at Preserve and that interview with Terry, and that was like the kind of the beginning of it, honestly, and it just kind of went into but my girlfriend started noticing it, and when she went on there for a couple weeks with me on the road, and she was like, man, like everybody loves you. And I'm like, well, I just try to keep it try to be myself as much as possible. But honestly, when I was watching disc golf on the West Coast, like they had the OTB Open and the Portland Open, they had fans for the first time when I was actually watching them. So I was like, okay, it's coming. It's coming. So, because we were playing a whole year with nobody, which was, not saying that like people distract me or nothing, but like in the earlier day, like only playing a week at a time and kind of coming home, like being on camera can kind of be nervous. And
even for you?
Yeah, like even for me then, and then just kind of getting used to it like last year with the media all being involved every round, getting used to it. Sometimes I don't even notice that they're there no more, stuff like that. And I just try to be myself out there. I know that the camera's out there. So like, because of the West Coast, I was like, all right, I know it's coming. That's when I started thinking about stuff to do. I'm like, all right, I want to make this entertaining, because I could tell the fans were different than they used to be. I was like, I'm going to come up prepared for something this year. And I just try to be myself. I'm kind of scared of social media. I'm definitely going to get onto it more this year, because I got backwards help with the Disc Golf Pro management, being able to have my back to be able to post stuff and stuff. But I just try to be myself out there and just try to, stay humble and like just
So you say that you're trying to stay yourself out there. Who is like how would you describe yourself as a golfer? Are you the type of guy that kind of likes to keep to yourself? Do you like to chit chat and interact with the people on your cart or the fans that are out there watching, or who are you on the course?
I think I'm a little bit of everything, honestly. It depends on the moment, the rounds, the group, the vibes. Because, so most of the time I play group, like Eric could abide by this. Sometimes you kind of have that one person you've always had like if it was me and Barsby, I'm like, all right, we're going to
Yeah.
we're going to stick together and kind of use it as our own vibe to push each other, for the round. I think that's just everybody, but I'm a little bit everything. If it's serious, I can be quiet. I mean, I just try to, it all depends on the moment, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's case by case scenario, but I always recall, because we've played many rounds together back in the day, and I always enjoyed having MattyO on the card. And it's just that positive energy that he's just, even if he doesn't know he's pushing that out to the group, he absolutely is. So I would always play better when I played with someone like MattyO, for sure, 100%.
Same here. And like, I always like the vibe. I always like to give people their props. Like, if you throw a good shot, you deserve a good shot props, And that's one thing I've tried to make sure I've been doing earlier this year. I've always been that way, but this year I've been really extra. Like if you throw a good shot, you deserve, you did it. Especially these times where, I mean, there's so much on every shot now, especially because some of these tournaments we only play 3 rounds and they're so tight. Like, you got a lot of pressure on some of these.
Yeah.
They're big deal shots now.
Are you the type of guy that you like to give your props? Do you like to get your props too? Like, if you throw a cool shot and you turn around and nobody's there to high five you, are you kind of like, what the heck, guys? Or are you just,
oh, no. I don't care. I don't care what nobody, I call tournament shots like there's a tournament at the Howler. And I tell everybody that me and Cam win all the time because we literally throw it in the ground and slide it to the basket. And I call them no high five birdies. Like, you ain't going to get a high five, but you're going to get a 2.
Yeah.
So, and I'm all about,
I'll take those all day.
Yeah, those are my thing.
Right. Yeah. It looks exact same on the scorecard, whether everybody was cheering for me or not.
I still got that Saban in me. I'm grinding, running the ball, doing whatever it takes to win.
That's in the blood. So you alluded to this earlier a little bit about you've been playing since you were a kid, but I always find it fascinating how everybody has a different story of how they got into disc golf. So what is your story? Obviously, you started when you were a kid. Did you learn it from a friend, a parent, a relative? How did that start for you?
Everything that I've done in disc golf revolves around my dad. He ran tournaments, and not only that, but he had a pro shop in my house where I grew up, and everybody bought discs from him. And he also ran every event down south. And my dad was
a legend.
He was a really good guy too. Like, this is back then during we'll call it the hipster days of disc golf. So my dad was very sober, did nothing. I felt like he was the one that was like the guy in the play that put everything together for everybody to come and have a good time. And I think a lot of people respected him for that. So everybody'd come over and tell my dad, and they would just love to talk to him. But I'd always be there, just there by his side, having everybody being Jim's son. Mm-hmm. And then one day he just told me, if you just don't cheat and you can hang out with the big boys, like, you can come out and don't cheat and do it right. He told me, if I ever cheat, though, you ain't never coming back again, ever. He told me whenever I wanted to make that step, I could do it. And I finally one day was like, all right, I think I'm ready. And ever since then, the first the tournament I ever played, I almost got struck by lightning too. And literally. We'll
get into that in 1 second. How old were you when you first took that step of playing with your dad and his friends?
11.
Okay. And was that the first time, like, had you kind of been playing on the side before that? Or was this just, you had been at the events and seen it and you were familiar with it, but you weren't actually participating?
Honestly, I would go steal a Cyclone off his shelf and go throw it in the backyard and hit the pop up until he'd yell at me. And then I'd be like, all right, I don't want to play no more. Until I finally hit that age where I was like, okay. Yeah. You actually want to take it serious by not just ripping a shot, actually trying to keep score and stuff like that.
Okay. So now we'll continue with the lightning. What? How?
I just went and played a tournament. I rode with my oldest brother, Jeff, and my dad, and we went to this tournament in Baton Rouge. And first tournament I played with, the guy that putts upside down with the gum putt, a guy named Gumbo. Literally, I remember this by heart. In this group, and then just this bad storm came out of nowhere and literally struck no cancellation. We played through the lightning, and my dad was like, "Good. I want to see if maybe he won't come this next time." And I was like, next tournament, I was ready to come. He was like, damn, I guess he really loves this. And that's when he realized I really liked it. Because, the first tournament was pretty rough. And I got last place and all that.
So your dad, was he in charge of the Southern Nationals, or he just had a hand in that?
He helped start it with this guy named Terry Rester. They, honestly, they ran a Halloween howler one year, and he said he ended up having to give the PDJ like $850, and he said the only reason that he got a little article in the back of the magazine back then, and he was like, I paid $800 for that. Like, where is this money going back to? And he wanted just to see $1 out of everybody's entry fee go to the World Championships, because my dad was a big Ken Climo fan, and he thought that it was a disgrace that Ken Climo only got $4,500 for winning Worlds in 94, 95. And he just thought that if we take $1 out of everybody's entry fee from the PDGA tournaments and put it to the Worlds, then it would make it grow. And they kind of thought it was a crazy, like they kind of laughed at him. So he went ahead and just started his own series to show that you can give back to your own organization, basically.
Right.
And that, the rest is history.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that when I was first getting into the sport and hearing about PDGA and all the governing bodies and tournaments and things like that. So is the Southern National Tour still a thing? Is that still happening?
It's kind of in this like weird dying stage, but it's kind of doing this, like, it's kind of got like a baby pulse still going, because with COVID, and honestly, I think the main reasons it's kind of died is because of the player rating, because everybody wants a player rating. And that's, I think, the only reason that the PDGA is getting a lot of, like, where people don't want the Southern National thing right now. And the thing about it right now is I don't think a lot of people know what the Southern Nationals is. Mm-hmm. And then two, because it's been backed up, because it's a year-to-year thing. So right now we need to have another year to put a championship up, because there's still leftover money from 1 year that we got sitting. Sure. So it just needs somebody to step up. We need basically somebody to step up to do the computer work, because the computer does all the work, because it's a non-profit organization. All it is $2 goes out of entry fee to everybody's division. Right. And it goes to a championship. So.
Okay. Very cool. So everybody has kind of a unique introduction into the sport, but yours is definitely unique, where your dad is this figurehead in the entire southeastern region of the country. And, like you had said, you're Jim's son. You're now just this little kid that kind of grows up. When did it turn from, when did it become, excuse me, when did it go from being Jim's son to now you're MattyO? You're this 1040 plus rated golfer that has a legit shot of winning any tournament that he signs up for. How did that transition happen?
I definitely would say it started changed it a little bit. My dad, Mike Wormyoung, came to my dad one day and told he wanted to take me on tour in 2005 with a friend of ours, a mutual friend of ours. And my dad said yes. And I ended up going to the KC Wide Open, just a bunch of events. I think it was like 7 of them. Okay. But in the Worlds, 2005 Worlds was the last stop. And the week before was Pittsburgh. And I ended up winning my second A tier the week before. And I just start feeling things click a little bit. And then the change was the next week during Worlds. I got second place in Allentown. And honestly, like, I used to play courses around town. I was 16. Nobody wanted to play with me as an adult, like, even when I was good. Mm-hmm. But when I came back from that trip, there was no more rounds by myself and all that. So I feel like that was definitely the change.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad that you brought up 2005 Worlds, because that 2005 Worlds contains one of my favorite memories from like the early days of disc golf. I remember I first started playing, it would have been in like 2007, I think it was. And so I got super into it, was looking up all these things. And I remember seeing the 2005 Worlds. I think it was the final 9. And I saw you playing in like an Alex Rodriguez jersey. And I was like, this is the coolest sport, where this dude is just out there in a Yankees jersey competing for a world title. This is awesome. So yeah, like you had said, you've been around forever. I'm sure people have seen it was 2005 Worlds. You were in the Yankees jersey. I think it was 2009 in the Alabama jersey, where, it was just kind of these little moments of like you had said, your girlfriend noticed that people love you. And I think it's the moments like that where some other golfers may not be like that, where it's like, you're a Yankee fan to your core, you're an Alabama fan to your core, and like, I'm out here competing for a world title at the end of the event. This is the highest stakes that it gets, but I'm still MattyO. I'm still going to be myself. I'm still going to do this the way that I do things. And I think that translates from your personality even into your game, where you have some of the most recognizable form, from off the tee drives even down to your putts, where if we were to just see a silhouette at any point of your throw, people know immediately, like, yeah, that's MattyO. Did that just start from being an 11-year-old kid and just picking up a disc and throwing it? Or was that a thing where your dad or some of his friends or any of the local people, did they teach you or help you? How did that form kind of come about?
Honestly, I think it just started off back then it was pre-YouTube. I used to watch this 1997 World's Disc Golf video with Rivers, Ron Russell, Scott Stokely, and Climo. That was the video I lived off of. I watched it so much. Back then it was on VHS. So I'd accidentally push the record button trying to get out of it. So there'd be parts of Sports Center on my tape, and stuff like that, like clips. But I used to just watch them, and I used to copy Rivers, for example. I copied his form. Well, he went to a putting slump one time. He's my boy, so I can admit that he did. So, and I wasn't making them, so I was like, all right, I'm going to change this. So I went to KenClimo.com, and he had all these little things about weight shift, and I could never pitch it like Climo, so I just kind of did my little hybrid of everything, kind of put the weight back, and then just stupid little stuff that I'll kind of used a little of everything and just kind of, I guess, mutated it all into one form. Yeah. And, back then we didn't have no film, so you could never see each other throw. Everybody just man, you throw kind of funny. It feels just like Rivers and Worm and Eric Tracy. I held my elbow up and all that. I mean, it's all the kind of same, so I could never tell until the World's video, basically. Mm-hmm. But I feel like my form was prime then, so it was all. Yeah. I never got to see the bad stuff before that. So
right. So what was that like? I think you said you were 16 in 2005 at Worlds,
or 17.
Okay, and so was that? I mean, that little trip was probably your first foray into quote unquote touring disc golf and competing against not just the best players in your area, but the best players in the country. What was that? Did that kind of impact you into becoming the golfer you are now, saying that I want to do this more? Or what was that like as such a young player?
It was definitely fun. I finally got to see how the tour guys, because you see what you hear about them, and then I'm actually the first tournament at Kansas City. Mm-hmm. Speaking of after the tournament, I was at Pete Cashin's. I actually stopped by Pete Cashin's house, and Brian Schwaber, Climo, they were playing poker. Mm-hmm. So immediately then I got to see the vibes of, and I just got comfortable with everybody real easy. So that was a big step for me, feeling like I was comfortable doing it, and then finishing really strong at the end. And of that year made me and then I was about to get out of high school, and I got a free last year of high school because Katrina hit my high school and kind of tore it up. So I only had to go to school for 50 days the last year. So I got to play a lot of tournaments my senior year and travel and do that. So it was kind of a blessing in a weird way. So after that, I was just all right, this is what I do, and I'm ready.
Yeah. Was it when you first went out and you kind of that first tournament, Kansas City Wide Open, were you going to that thinking all right, I'm the best person in the South, so I'm going to be the best? Or did you then tee off and Ken Climo's drive went 100 feet past yours and you were like, oh God, this is a whole nother, there's levels to this thing? What?
I think I was confident. I didn't know where I fit in, as far as just, I guess, where I was going to basically be ranked, I guess, in a way. Kind of, I guess you would kind of say, I didn't know what to expect where I fit in, especially maybe not the top 5, but the next tier of players,
Yeah.
But I think the main thing that got me was, I play little short wooded courses where I'm from. And we have a long course called Municipal back then. And it's still par 54. There might be one par 4 out there. So going to Waco, I think was where we played the first KC Wide Open.
Yeah.
And they had island holes and 1,000 foot. And back then all we had was T-birds.
Right.
So, I mean, it was just, luckily I could throw it good. So that was one reason I got the hang. But just stuff like that, just seeing the courses, having to adjust the courses, and they all ripped. They've been playing those long. They were used to that. So having to adjust to that when they were already used to it, having to try to beat them in the woods back then.
Right.
Kind of almost.
Yeah. So I guess this question kind of applies to you as well, Eric. Back from when you first started and you were first, we can say, 2005, when you first went out on the road, what kind of changes do you see from then until now? From, like you had said, just kind of, you were a 16, 17-year-old kid in a Yankees jersey out there on the road versus now everybody's got these nice polos. There's cameras everywhere. What, on kind of the back end, on the player side of things, what kind of changes do you feel or see from then to now?
Honestly, I see the marketing a lot better. Because there's so many people involved in the game, and just the social media part of it on it, because I think the game and the love for the people that really played the game has always been there if you ever fell in love with the game.
Mm-hmm.
But now just with all these new people coming in and giving it the extras that we always kind of dreamed about what would happen if the sport, because we always knew the sport was catchy and popular. I felt we always knew it was going to grow and take a step. It was just a matter of when.
Right.
But now just, I think the marketing, because like back then I used to have box disc and I had the best stuff in Innova, I guess you would say at the time. I couldn't get rid of my best stuff for $10. Like I had to sell my stuff for $10 because nobody wanted to buy stuff. Now you sell a thing for $10, they think like, am I okay?
Yeah,
like,
it must be extremely used.
Yeah, like, you know, so stuff like that. And just the fans, I mean, just look, mainly the outside of the people of the marketing, the outside of the people in the marketing, I guess, and stuff like that is definitely what's changed more than.
Yeah.
And then so many new people. Like I went and played a tournament in my home course with 400 people, the Halloween Howler.
Okay.
I think about a month ago now, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about 120 people there. And that's in my
Really?
hometown and my home tournament on my home course.
Right.
So,
And you've been there forever.
ever. Like that's the only place I practice when I'm home.
Wow.
No, y'all don't know that. But
You're about to see a lot more people on that course now. Everybody's going to be, all right, so we're just going to go on a Saturday and we're just going to sit and wait for MattyO to pull up.
on the back
ask for an
nine.
autograph. Yeah.
I know he's going to that field at one point.
For me on that, there's two things that I see. And one obviously is money. There's a lot more money in the game.
A lot more money.
And the second is, you know, back then and even up until like when I won my Worlds in 2010, the galleries back then were made up of the players, you know? So you had all the players still there. Like I remember like the semifinal round, we had a small gallery walking with us, but it was nothing like even round one at Worlds now. So people like spectators paying to come out and watch these events, you know, and what a great, you know, idea, I guess it is, to have spectators paying to come watch the event, and all that money raised goes to the pro purse. All that's going to do is continue to build that money up for these events. And, you know, back then, like Matty can definitely say Worlds is always been the one event where there was always spectators. But like now, any pro tour event, you're going to have 1,000 people out there
everywhere.
watching. It's pretty insane. So
yeah, and like you had said, I think it was like in the 90s when Climo won and got $4,500 for winning Worlds. This past year, James Conrad won and got $16,500. And that was half of the biggest payout that we saw this year. The Pro Tour finale gave out $30,000 to first place for FPO and MPO, where, I mean, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, that's probably what the total purse was. For
even late
player.
2000, like 2010s, 2009. Even back then, the World's payout was probably around $5,000. So yeah, it's crazy to think what it's jumped to.
And I'm sure the incentives these days are above days.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, bonuses.
that's what thing people don't put in the, because they're like, what's the world championship? It's only 16. I'm like, no, that 16 ends up going like
That's
times
right,
20.
right.
If you,
Dude,
you know.
winning it is definitely a life-changing deal. Like you'll never be the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
the incentives behind it are much greater. I mean, the title itself.
Right. And then even, I mean, like, you know, Eric, the fact that you now get to say that you're the 2010 world champion forever. Right. It's not like that expires after a year and then somebody else wins it. No, you still won it the year before. Yeah, so that always just kind of holds value. And that's the thing that even people outside the disc golf world, if you were to say, oh yeah, I won the 2019 Waco Annual Charity Open, they'd be like, oh, cool.
Nice tour.
But
tour event.
Yeah, they don't know the difference between that and a C tier. But if you say I was the world champion.
I won a world title. Yeah.
People know that.
Yeah, it's bona fide.
Yeah, that holds weight no matter what. So what, we've kind of been talking about it for a while. You've been in the game forever. Matty, what are kind of your keys or tips to being active and being at the top level of the sport for so long? What are kind of your keys to the longevity that you've had to this point in your career and that will continue to carry you into the future?
I don't know if I want to give away my secret. No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, just knowing what I have to do on the courses, knowing what courses we play and what, like, all right, for an example, like, I don't know if I want to say this. Saban, can I say this? No. Like, to me, if you, like, there's some courses out there like Fox Run where there's 6 really, really, really hard holes. out there. If you just par those holes and just get through those holes, you got 12 birdies, and I feel like I'm going to get 6 of those. So I'm putting myself at 6 down that course, doing stuff like that, just eliminating some of the hard holes and, and then just sticking to what I know, sticking to the shots I know. And,
does that kind of help you? Like you had said, Fox Run has 6 hard holes. Does that kind of help you, like going into it? Obviously, you want to shoot your best. The goal, sure, to shoot 18 under every round would be awesome, but that's not realistic. But you can walk up to every tee pad and say, like, I want to try and birdie this hole. But does kind of going into it and saying, okay, there's 12 birdie holes, I'll give myself half of those, and there's 6 really hard holes. So if I par those, I'm at 6 down. Does that kind of help you through that stretch of 6 hard holes, knowing, knowing, hey, I'm 3 holes into this stretch and I'm 1 under, like this is actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. Not I birdied 1 out of the last 3 holes.
Yeah, absolutely. And it made me realize it at 2018 Worlds, because I was in the second card and I was playing them smart on Fox Run specifically. And before you know it, I was in the mix to win and I wasn't even aggressive. And I kind of used that tournament to learn, like if I just put the ball in play every time or put the disc in play every time, then eliminate the bogey.
Right.
That's mainly what I'm trying to do these days. At least just try to, just grab a little birdie when they come. And that's really what I try to officiate myself on these days, is just to try to keep myself in the game is what I'm.
Right. Yeah. Just limit your mistakes, play smart. And
because there's only so much you can do on these courts, because there's so much rope and stuff these days that, and it's easy because if you put yourself in that spot, so they make it for some easy birdies, but it's so hard to get to that one specific spot. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I just try to do what I think that I know is best. It's kind of like the Nick Saban Alabama way. I just want to make sure that I don't, like we said earlier too, I don't really care what it looks like. I just want to do what I have to do to put up the results, not how it looks,
Right. Yeah. When the clock hits 0, who's got more points?
Exactly.
Usually Alabama.
And I hope so. and them Jayhawks too.
Yeah. What's
there
up, Rutschak?
So we'll continue back onto the kind of big news, is the fact that you're going to be playing for Westside now. People may or may not know this, but 3 or 4 years ago, before you were with Prodigy, you were actually on Team Latitude 64. And so while this is a new bag to you, this will be new discs from what you've been throwing for the last couple of years. Does that kind of prior knowledge of, I know I liked this disc, I know I liked that disc, does that kind of help with the transition? Or are you just saying, you know what, I got a fresh start, I'm going to start fresh, and maybe that disc worked for me 4 years ago, but now maybe there's something better?
I definitely used a little bit. Honestly, whenever I went through my negotiations, I told this to the Corey's podcast that my number one option was dynamic disc. Like when Scans asked me, who do you want to be? Like, give me the list on top to bottom, what you want and which one you're interested in most. And I believe it was Dynamic and Latitude were the first 2. So it was actually the same company twice in a way.
Right.
So, but I had some leftovers and I just felt like it came out of kind of nowhere in my feeling. It was like in the middle of September, but I kind of felt it out of nowhere. And then all of a sudden it kind of started becoming a reality. And then now it's become hopefully the truth. And, definitely, because I had some leftover flows. I left over about 20 discs I knew, whether I ever had an open
Just
bag or if I went back, that I would use those, like even an open bag. I was like, these discs are legit. So I was going to use those, or if I ever went back. So I had some flows and stuff put back, but I definitely knew that it was going to be, I wanted to kind of keep on the same pace because, I want to try to win at the beginning of the season. So knowing that I have the Frisbees that I already know exactly what they do is pretty clutch, especially when it's stuff like wind, knowing their vulnerabilities and stuff like that.
Yeah. So obviously I remember this from your time with Latitude, but like you had just mentioned, the flow was one of the main ones that you threw and you really liked. So I'm guessing that's most of what you held on to. What are the other ones that maybe you held on to them or not, but you're thinking, okay, I really like this disc, I really want to get that back in the bag, or I really want to try this new whatever?
Well, I'm going to have to buy some back because everybody wanted them first when I left for my first run, Lucid Wardens. I left, everybody, actually, I still get messages to this day if I still had them. Like, really? I get about one every 3 to 4 weeks because I had a big stack of them.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to let everyone, I got a couple of them back from the people I got it, but that would definitely be one. And let's see, the old enforcers, like the Dimax white ones. I like those a lot. I still had a couple of those left with little Huck Lab emblems, and because they're like stiff and poppy and real durable.
Yeah.
And then a lot of these discs that I'm throwing now though came out right on the verge. Like the Explorer came out. Like a lot of the new. I think the Defender just came out when I was there. That was just the top of the line, right? Like that was about it. That and the Giant was so. But there's a lot more high speed drivers, a lot more mids, and then like the Anvil. I think the Justice was kind of on the borderline right when I came out. So there's a lot more full discs that I would definitely use on the. I think more of the pro level discs that have come out since that time for sure.
When you're evaluating kind of new discs to either test or to try out for your bag, what is that process for you? Do you just say, all right, I'm going to grab one of everything, go out to a field and see what clicks? Or do you kind of say, this is what I used to throw, what's similar to this? Or how does that whole process work?
I guess I kind of go in with like the first 6 that I need as a necessity. Like I got to have one that goes long left. I got to have one that goes straight, blah, blah, blah. But then what I really go for is durability and plastic. I'm more about plastic than the mold itself because I want something that's going to last and kind of just feel good in my hand versus the mold, because there's so many molds, especially with Trilogy now. Like there's so many molds that I really just kind of go more by plastic and feel and how I know it's going to be longevity wise too. Because I don't really like switching stuff out of my bag much. I'm more of I like to stick to my soldiers, you know?
Yeah. Just learn the disc, and then like Eric always talks about, let the disc work for you.
Exactly.
Kind of learn how this disc is going to fly, and then, okay, I need it to go straight, so I need to give it more hyzer, or it's really overstable, so I need to flex it a little bit.
They do most of the work for us, you know?
Yep. It's a lot easier that way too. You don't have to, I feel like it's a more stress-free way to play golf. If you just know your disc and, okay, so I need to throw a turnover, so I'm going to grab this and let it flip and ride or whatever.
Exactly. Like I used to do Tiger Vision when I wanted that disc to fly exactly on that flight. I don't do that no more. I just try to hit that spot in my hand and then go with the flip. Yeah, that's too hard to do the whole thing.
That's right.
Very cool. So have you had the opportunity to test any of these discs yet, or are you in the literally brand new phase? You obviously just came to Emporia. Are you still just picking out the discs?
Yes, I got some of my leftovers, and I've been hiding, playing with them on the course at my local course, you know, and just kind of adjusting to them to get ready mainly for just Vegas and stuff like that. I want to be ready for that in the beginning of the season, especially because that Texas stretch I hit so good last year. So I kind of got a little confidence to try to just come out hot with that little stretch. So I'm ready to, so I've been messing around, but like we were just talking about, like I still have leftover discs, and a lot of them still pretty money. So they just filled in, and I played the other day and I shot just
pretty good.
I'm ready.
I love it.
So I've got we'll call it a trivia game. It's not much of a trivia game, but we'll call it a trivia game. I want to see how well MattyO knows MattyO.
Uh-oh.
Eric, you're free to answer these questions as well, as long as you haven't looked at the answers.
I have not.
Okay, good. This first one will be difficult for Eric, but MattyO, what, and for bonus points, when was your highest rated round ever? What was the rating? What was the event?
I know.
Okay.
2008 Pro World Championships.
Oh.
Round 5. I'm going to say it's 11:03 Victory Park.
Okay. That might be correct, but according to PDGA, that's not correct. According to PDGA, they may not have had every single round on there. Your highest rated round was a 1096 at the 2007 Gator Country Classic. Does that sound right? Okay. Maybe this is your second highest rated round. Trick question. I was goofing for you. What was your first rating? What and when?
My first rating ever?
Mm-hmm. Eric, I'll let you try and guess the year.
Well, here's the problem with that. How you worded that question is, much like me, I'm sure MattyO was playing before there was ratings. Like back in the day when we played, there was no ratings. One day the rating system just
popped up.
Was here. And I know when I first got rated, it was like 1,005 or something like that. So I would just assume that MattyO is around that number as well.
That's a good point, because I think I played tournaments in 2000 and 99, but I don't think they had ratings. I think it was like 2002 for my rating.
Yep.
And I'm going to say 957.
Wow.
957?
Very close.
Wow.
First of all, nailed the year. March 2002 was the time.
That was when ratings came out?
That was the first rating. 952.
Gosh, I was thinking it was later than that. That's why I put MattyO at around 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Though.
Yeah. That also, coincidentally enough, and surprising to no one, was the lowest rating that you've ever had. It's just gone up from there. Speaking of, we'll kind of skip a question here. When was the first time that you hit 1,000 rated?
2004, around April.
Eric?
Well, I was thinking when he first got rated, so...
Back to March 2002 again?
March 2002. I think that is wrong. I think the PDJ is wrong.
Okay, so to answer the overall question of how well does MattyO know MattyO, he knows, you know yourself very well.
Very
because,
well.
Yeah, the May 2004 update was when you hit 1,000 rated. Since then, how many times do you think you've gone below 1,000 rated?
Ooh.
I'll let Eric answer first.
I will say 0 times.
2004. I had kind of I won an A tier that year. And I remember, true story, I switched to Discraft for a little bit.
Okay. Took a slump. Dang it.
No cheap shots there. But
No
then I
comment.
went back to Innova because Worm was like, dude, you got to start throwing these again because that's what I threw my whole life. So
Right.
I would say 1.
Eric, you're correct.
All right.
Since May 2004, you have never gone below 1,000 rating.
Solid.
Over
Thank you.
Well played.
18 years. Longer
pretty
than a majority, I would guess, of disc golfers have been alive.
Or current, at
Or-
least. Yeah.
Definitely longer
Yeah.
than most people have been current. Longer than most people have been playing. You have been over 1,000 rated.
Impressive.
That's my biggest confidence boost in a while.
That
Thank you for
is-
that.
Yeah, I always hear people talking about like Nate Sexton has been like he hasn't missed cash in
Mhm.
so long, or he's been 1,000 rated for so long, and you always hear about stuff like that. But I feel like you're one of those people that's under the radar for who's been 1,000 rated for the longest. I don't know that answer, but I would guess that at this point, 18 and a half years has got to be close.
It's got to be up there.
It's got to be up there because you've been current and active the whole time. It's not like you hit 1,000 rated
Yeah.
and then took a 10-year gap and came back and were 1,000 rated. You have been actively playing in tournaments that whole time. This last one will be it'll be a lot harder. Do you know, or what is your best guess? Because I hope you don't know this, because if you know this, you need a hobby or something to take up your free time. How many total strokes do you have in PDGA events? Sanctioned PDGA events. So not X tiers, not things like that. Sanctioned events, you've played in 290 that qualify.
290?
290 events. Eric, do you have a guess for
I
total
do.
strokes?
I do have a guess. Go ahead, though.
Carry 4 zeros. That would be at least 30,000.
I'll say I'm gonna go low. I'm gonna go 18,500.
That is low.
Okay.
I'm gonna go.
I was just averaging like 50-ish.
I'm gonna go
around.
near the Bitcoin status. I'm gonna go like 63,000.
Whoa.
Considering how difficult this question would be for most humans to answer, very close. 54,430
Let's see where
total
Bitcoin's
strokes.
at right now.
Hopefully it hasn't dropped $10,000 in the last couple of minutes.
How many rounds did you say?
290 events.
Oh, events.
It's-
That's where I was. I thought you said rounds.
Oh, I'm
That's
sorry.
why that's where I was at. So
Yeah,
that makes more
290
sense.
events.
That
This
makes more
is-
sense.
That one came from Statmando.
Yeah.
So
That makes a lot more sense.
yeah, I think they
on that
filtered
number.
out, like I said, X tiers, and
Sure.
there are PDGA events that aren't technically sanctioned. Like sometimes USDGC won't go on your rating, and I think they take those things out because I think you've played 297 events, but I think 7 of those were, like I said, USDGC, things like that. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is you alluded to it earlier. You had recently done an interview with Corey Merle, or Johnny Disc Golf, as some people know him. If you haven't seen that already, you can find it on Corey's YouTube channel. Just search Johnny Disc Golf or MattyO interview, anything like that, and it should pop right up. one thing that I found was really interesting was towards the end of the interview, you had said that your kind of goal in disc golf is to kind of become the Kale LaVisca of the Southeast region. And yeah, I think that's an extremely ambitious goal. And I think you can totally do that. And that's such a good way to put it, as like, you don't want to be, just a guy in the South. Like, Kale is the dude. He does everything up in Minnesota. And I think that's a really cool goal that most players, I feel like, don't. It's kind of transitioning where in the past people haven't really thought about life post playing, right? Eric has done a great job of this, of turning your status as a player into something after the fact. And I think that is a really cool goal. Is that a conscious thing where you're like, I'm not going to be able to play forever, but I want to do this forever. I want to be involved forever. Was that kind of the goal behind that, or the reasoning behind that goal?
Honestly, a little bit, because I think with the disc golf not growing as it has now, I had so many adults be like, you're not going to be able to do this forever, because they really didn't show no promise a little bit at certain times. So I had so many people just go, you got to think about something after the game,
Mm-hmm.
So I really believe that, as weird as that sounds, thinking about that my whole childhood, what's next, just in case it doesn't, has helped me.
Yeah.
Do that. But I have a lot of respect for Kel, and I love the fact that he has an equal niche in golf to where he can keep the love for each part of the game that he does. Like, if you compete too much, like sometimes when you compete too much, it can burn you out too. So I like and it not just like taking 2 or 3 weeks, just 1 week at a time, where I can replace it with running a tournament. So because I love running tournaments, because you get to interact with AMs and like deal with people that are so excited about the event, and it's almost like performing a play or something as a TD. And I like that, like doing that, because that's what my dad always told me. It's like performing a play as like directing a play or something whenever you're directing tournament. And I love doing that. So having that stuff that makes me keep having fun while I'm out there trying to compete in all that, anxieties and stuff, but trying to make sure I stay, it keeps me balanced to keep my inner soul happy.
Yeah.
And fun, like keeps it fun for me and everything,
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, Kale is he's the perfect example of that. And I think that the two of you are kind of on very similar career paths of like, you don't tour all year, but when you sign up, you have a very real chance of winning any event that you sign up for. There's not a single human that says or has a bad thing to say about you. You guys, can talk with anyone. It's not like anybody looks at their card and they're like, I got to play with Kale, or I got to play with MattyO. Like, this isn't going to be fun. I'm going to have a terrible time, right? Everybody always kind of enjoys that. And it's really interesting that I'm guessing you're already kind of dabbling in running an event here or running an event there. Have you done kind of any of the other things like designing courses or any of the other things like that? Or are you mostly focused on, once the touring days stop, I kind of want to become the next TD and run the big events or run the small events or run all the events?
I definitely want to start off running tournaments. I wanted to get into course design, but it takes a lot of time. And like, one thing about course design, and my dad always told me this, he said, son, make sure your first course is awesome. Because if you go and get your first course design is in a group of pine trees, and then I put a little 9-holer in, and then people are like, well, Matt's course sucked. They're like, we don't want him to design no more courses. Yeah. Just because of the property I had. So I've always kind of wanted to make sure my first one was like presentable to where I could make it to where I could use that as a presentation for future, have a, I mean, I'm not trying to be picky on what course I'm trying to do, but make sure it at least has a decent, like, outward project finish, not just like, hey, some people just have to have a course here and they just want to get it done, Yeah,
if you're putting your name on it, you want people to know.
Yeah, I want it to be a tournament. I want it to be held tournaments and be, have a, personal to me, like where somebody attacks one of my holes and say it sucked, I'll, take it personally,
Which they will.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know anything about designing courses?
I can definitely tell you that you can't make everyone happy as far as course design goes, and no matter what. Here's the thing with course design. Majority of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, you're working with a city, and cities have regulations on what you can and can't do in a park. And of course, there's awesome terrain or hills or trees or something on this side of the park. Well, why didn't you use that? Well, obviously I want to use that.
But there's a sidewalk right behind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people just don't think about, there's regulations you have to go through. There's rules. There's boundaries. There's a lot that goes into it. But course design is fun. It's so awesome to start from a blank scratch, canvas and just go. And one
of your designs is one of my favorites in Foley. It's Alabama,
Foley, yep.
Graham Creek,
Graham
the middle
Creek.
course is what I call it.
Yep.
And no, sorry, Foley, that I call it the middle course, but I just call it the middle course. but I love that one, and Eric designed that one, and I would love that course a lot.
Yeah, I think the whole kind of post-career thing, it kind of transitions you from, being Mac Jones to now you're Nick Saban, of like, rather than being the one out there doing the thing, you're kind of the person that's pulling the strings, and you kind of, like you had said, you're putting on a play. It's like a performance almost, where it's more about setting things up to go the right way rather than doing the right things and throwing the actual shot. It's making sure that there's water jugs on every other hole, or there's enough trash cans, or that people have enough time between rounds, or if you're designing the course, making sure that, like you were just talking about, don't throw over a sidewalk, or if there is a sidewalk, don't throw into a blind corner where people might be walking or riding bikes. I think it's all stuff that it's kind of fascinating, because you don't, as just a person that shows up to a park and plays, you never would think about those type of things. But for people like the two of you who have been in the sport for 20 plus years, it's stuff that is constantly in your head, I'm sure. And you're noticing these things and thinking, why this or why didn't that?
Yeah. Well, and that being said, these players' contracts today are making more guaranteed money than we ever did back in the day too. So, I mean, there's security, I guess you would say, in future livelihood, being able to survive and
health insurance,
comfortably,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I can actually go to the doctor without being scared stuff now.
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. So I think that plays a big role in the confidence you see in some of these younger players.
And parents, like getting their kids involved in sports, like people taking it more serious because they actually see, and their parents getting behind them because, they actually see that this is like legit. Right. Versus 3 years ago where I don't think it was necessarily like that unless they really had a superior passion for it.
Yeah, it's gone from...
Or trust fund.
Yes.
It's gone from kind of a sport or a game or a hobby or a passion to now, like, there are many people that can call disc golf their career, where it used to be maybe a handful of people, especially touring players. There was a handful of people. It was Paul, it was Ricky, it was Simon. It was, kind of those people that could call disc golf their career and were actually saving money. They were making more money than they were spending. Whereas now that number has drastically increased from, it's not just the top 3 or 5 players. There's now people that, we were just talking about Corey. Corey's not a top 3 or 5 player in the world. He's very good, but he doesn't have a career. He doesn't have a following. He doesn't have all the notoriety and things that he does in the sport because of his play on the course. It's because of his personality. It's because of the videos that he creates. And there's all these different people and avenues for people to have disc golf be their career, where they kind of, now this is what they do. And they, like you had said, they get health insurance. They don't have to worry about going to the doctor because, am I going to be able to pay my phone bill, or am I going to have enough gas money to get to the next event?
Mm-hmm.
Like you had said, it's just kind of, it's more of a stress-free time. So moving into the final thing that I want to ask you about is kind of your future on the course next year and beyond. What do your tour plans look like for that? Are you thinking full-time tour? Are you thinking kind of like you've been doing, play a couple events, go home, play an event here, play an event there?
I'm going to say, I was just in my head, I'd say it's like 90% full-time, because I'm going to do all the pro tours, and except for the OTB and Portland. Because it's just looking at the schedule myself, like I felt like that'd be just a good time for a little break. I don't get to go home from June basically till the end of September. So that'd be my last little beach time, and I can run an event there during that time and kind of get a little of my home time with my girlfriend, her little boys.
Yeah.
And then give me, you know, that way I'm just not burnt out and all that. But I'm definitely going to go to every event besides those two I just mentioned, and I'm going to European Open this year.
Oh,
that was my flip. I was gonna, if I skip the two West Coast, not trying to. I love y'all West Coast people. I miss y'all. It's been a while, but
nothing personal.
Nothing personal. But I think that was my.
Yeah.
You know, just to kind of make it good, just like we were talking about last subject, I just don't want to get burnt out and just want to keep it fun for myself. And
right.
I just felt like that was perfect for me.
Have you been to Europe before?
And I'm super excited, especially being a part of Westside and they're affiliated with the whole European thing. I'm super excited about it.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, the Nokia's, that course is fun. It is a lot of fun.
I'm actually never watched the video of European Open because I always wanted to wait to see it in real life.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have no clue what one hole looks like.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Do you watch much Jomez Central Coast? Are you a person that...
I never watch myself, honestly,
Really?
Because like when I was doing videos with like Luke and all them earlier this year, and people be like, dude, I love your video. If I watched it, I'm like, oh God. But if I don't watch, I'm like, okay, what did I do? So then I kind of interact with the fans more. I'm like, all right, what did I do?
Yeah.
What did he put on there?
Yeah.
You know, it kind of keeps it more opening and fun for me too. Instead of watching, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did. Oh my God. And then they say, I'm like, I didn't do that, you know?
Yeah.
But then I don't really watch much disc golf though, because most of the time I go to somebody's house, they always got it playing. Or if I go over there, they're like, oh,
yeah.
you know,
this is what I do all day, every day.
And I like to have that. Yeah, I kind of like an easy break from disc golf. Like once I kind of move on to another sport when I go home.
Yeah.
Like, so just to keep it fun. Like I don't play disc golf Valley on my phone or nothing.
Sure.
But, you know.
Yeah. So when you, like you were talking about, instead of going out to the West Coast swing, when you go back home, you might run an event. But other than that, like you're just kind of checked out of disc golf, maybe work on your game here or there.
I mean, I'll do the same, like stays. Yeah. But that's just my last little time. Maybe if there's a home event, I mean, I'll be still doing, just not going all the way to the West Coast. And maybe like from a lot of players last year, not necessarily have to worry about it took a lot of toll on the players last year. I think that went to the West Coast swing when I saw them at Preserve, they were
beat
mentally
up.
beat.
It was a long drive.
The cost of living out there, just everything above that goes to it. And it's wide open ball golf, long golf. So I'm just like, I could skip those two to just kind of, you know, and it makes Europe just where I'm just not
that much more special.
Where I'm just not, and I'm just not, you know, overwhelmed by traveling with my girlfriend, her boys, and just trying to make everything work where I can just, and still have a really busy schedule at the same time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because
super busy. Yeah. So that would be like almost Conrad level if I was doing it the other way, you know?
Yeah. Which is, if I were, hypothetical situation, if I were at your level of being able to play and hang on tour, I think I would have to do it the way that you do, because I'm the same way, where once if I'm gone for too long or if I'm super busy or whatever, like all I want to do is just go home.
Yeah, to my refrigerator.
Yeah,
that's like one of the main things. I want to sit
on my couch. I want to sleep in my bed. I want to talk to my girlfriend in person. I want to pet my cat. Like I massive props to, like you said, James Conrad and those people that can just get in their van and go, and then they're home 10 months later. Props to them.
Super props.
Yeah, it is. It's a totally different lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's not, it's not a normal everyday wake up in your house, drive to work, and then you're good. You live in your house. Your house has wheels, and sometimes your house is driving for 15 hours in a day because, like you'd said, you have to go from Portland to Minnesota in 2 days so that you have time to practice and play the event.
I played Beaver State Fling one year. The very next weekend, I played the Maple Hill Open.
Wow.
Oh. We didn't drive. We flew from like Ohio. We were in Texas the weekend before and drove to Ohio, flew to Beaver State Fling, played Beaver State Fling, and then flew into Ohio and drove over for the next. And like that was when it started on Wednesday. So yeah, traveling was crazy back in the day. Like it was based off of when can you run the event? When can you do it? It wasn't like, hey, here's your date. This is when you're doing it, or you're not doing it.
Right. Make it happen here or never.
Yep.
Golly.
It was crazy.
So while you are out on the road, do you just get in your car? Are you thinking you're going to get a van, RV, maybe a fifth wheel?
I'm too tall for a van. I'm like, I'm hitting that age where I definitely want just a nice, reliable car, and I want a house. And having a van, a house, and a car is just a little too much. And
yeah,
I'm okay with not having a van out there. Like I I like staying at Airbnbs. I like staying at people's houses. I'm very easy not to have to. Plus, I'm too tall, and then I've seen some of them people live in vans, and I mean, it's very, very, very cool, nice lifestyle because you can go to a concert and go walk to your van and hang out right there.
Right.
But also, if you got to use the bathroom at 3:30 in the morning and you got to really go, you got to like go inside Walmart,
right,
or or stuff like that. So it has its pros and cons, and I'm okay with just going in the car and having it west side out and showing up and
I like it.
have black with some tinted windows and look good going up there and just being okay with that.
What is your go-to like road trip thing? Are you a podcast guy? Are you just like a zone out? Do you just like to listen to music? What helps you get through those?
Music, and then like some direct like live sports, just having like the live sport on the thing, sitting there watching it. I guess this time of year, like Sunday on my way home, I'll put on direct TV, go to channel CBS or whatever there, stuff like that.
Okay.
Just a little bit of everything. I'm not much the podcast kind of guy yet, but maybe in a couple of years when I get a little more older, I've done maxed out on all my music because I'm about there.
Okay.
I'll be on the podcast and stuff like that.
A couple more years on the road.
I mean, I do some Dan Patrick in the morning and stuff like that.
Sure.
That's considered a podcast, I guess. Yeah. So I do podcasts too. Yeah.
Okay. So then that's all I've got for you. I think if you want to give a shout out to any of your other sponsors or anything like that, let people know where they can follow you, hit you up for, I don't know if you do lessons or run your events or sign up for your events, I guess I should say, anything like that.
All right. Well, I want to definitely give a shout out to Westside for taking a chance, giving me an amazing deal, and definitely giving me a chance to be out here full time and disc golf and be here in Kansas, hanging out with these awesome family. Well, I'll call y'all now. I want to give a shout out to everybody on the Gulf Coast. Coming soon, Mardi Gras Madness, Mobile, Alabama. Details coming soon. And there's a cool little treat I might have in this thing. Maybe not this year, but the following year. I'm going to try this year. The winner of my tournament advanced will get free throws and a ride in the parade the next day at the Joe Kane Parade in Mobile.
Dang.
And then it'll be the week before Fat Tuesday. So if you want to come play my event in Mobile, then you can go straight to New Orleans and do Mardi Gras on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, or Sunday if you don't win and you don't get your free throws. So, look forward to hearing that soon, and come check me out if y'all are on have a little vacation time.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Matt. What is the way? Okay, I'll throw one more question at you. People mostly know you and refer to you as MattyO. What is the definitive way to spell MattyO? Is it all one word? Is there a space? Is there a hyphen? How do you write it?
Capital MATTY, no space, capital O.
Okay.
I guess that's how I do it.
Yeah?
Yeah. Capital M, capital O, no space.
Perfect.
Boom.
I've seen it multiple ways, and I never knew which way was the right way. So I'm going to ask the man himself while I got the chance. MattyO, Emac, thank you both for joining me and sitting down with me for the past hour. It was awesome getting to know you and talk with you for a little bit. Hopefully the fans at home enjoyed this. If they have any questions, hit you up on Instagram. Is that the best way? Facebook? What do you prefer?
Facebook. Instagram's coming soon. I got the DGPT about to get really on top of starting here January 1st. I'm going to be sending my post to him because I'm scared to post myself. I want a little but yeah, check it out soon though.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank y'all. Boom.